What's going on, fellas? I've got a 2006 Chevy Cobalt here, and I'm going to use this car to point out to you the location of the starter relay, the starter fuse, a few other important fuses and relays, and I'm also going to give you some advanced troubleshooting steps for what to do if your Cobalt is not starting. So to start with, we're going to have to get behind this cover here. There's a latch on this side that we pull up, and there's one on the other side as well. So this is going to expose a number of the important fuses and relays. There is a included fuse puller right here, and there's some spare fuses that should be located in these slots. Feel free to use the spares if you find a blown fuse. Now, the starter fuse here is a 30 amp J-case fuse. The power from this fuse is sent to the starter relay, and the starter relay then sends this power to the starter when that relay is engaged. Now, if this fuse is blown, there won't be an available spare, but you can temporarily swap in your cooling fan fuse right here. Now, the starter relay is going to be this relay right here. Chevy calls it the crank relay. Now, my favorite way to troubleshoot this is I'll have an assistant turn the key to the start position and hold it there. So they'll be trying to start the car. I'll then come here and I'll tap on the relay. I can also grab the relay and wiggle it around. And that can help if the relay is stuck. Sometimes relays get stuck, and tapping on them or wiggling them can get them unstuck. Now, beyond that, we can just simply pull the relay out and we can swap in a different relay. So for example, here I'm putting in my cooling fan number 1 relay. Now, if after I swap the relay, the car starts, then I know that the original relay that I took out is probably no good. Well, let's go a little more in depth on how the wiring of this is set up. Now, I first want to say the starter relay, the crank relay, it is not controlled directly by the ignition switch. It is instead computer controlled. The computer detects when you're turning the ignition to the start position. It runs through a series of thefts, including the anti-theft check, and the computer then engages the starter relay if some conditions are met. Now, when the starter relay is engaged, all it's doing is it's connecting 2 pins together. So we can see this pin and this pin get connected by the relay when the relay is engaged. What this does, connecting these 2 pins together, is it sends power to the starter to engage it. You yourself can connect these 2 pins together with a wire or maybe even a paper clip, and that should result in the car starting, assuming that the starter itself is good, that the battery is good, and that your engine is not locked up. Now, how will I know if this relay is being engaged by the computer? Simply put, if you measure voltage between these 2 pins, then the computer is trying to engage the starter. If you never see voltage between these 2 pins, then there could be a few things happening. The computer might not be recognizing that you're trying to start the car, in which case the ignition switch could be bad. The computer could see that you are trying to start the car, but your car may not be in park or neutral, so you won't be getting a power. The computer will be providing the ground, but you'll not see the power. Or there could be a bad computer itself. So if you never see 12 volts between here and here, you could have a bad issue with the computer. You'll want to first start by checking a few other fuses and relays. So if you've got an automatic, there's a 10 amp fuse right here. The power from this fuse is necessary for the neutral safety switch. This prevents you from starting the car unless you're in park or neutral. Now, there's a run crank relay here, and a lot of important components need power from this relay in order to start. So if this relay fails, it'll also result in your car not starting. It won't even try. So again, you can swap this relay around. I would recommend, again, swapping it with one of the cooling fan relays. Now, if your car is a manual, there's another fuse for us to take a look at. It's inside the car. And power from this fuse is necessary for the clutch pedal safety switch. So this is a safety switch that will only let your starter engage if you're pushing in on the clutch. And that's going to be this 10 amp fuse right here. So be sure to check that. And let's take a look at the starter itself. So we can actually take a look underneath the car. And there's the starter itself. When the starter relay engages, all that's happening is power is sent to that wire right there. So that's how that starter engages. So yeah, I hope that this information was helpful for you. Please do let me know if you have any questions, or more importantly, any advice about troubleshooting the starter on your Chevy Cobalt.